like to call to order the curriculum subcommittee meeting for January 30th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Member Satterwhite, absent. Member Dugan.
Present.
Member Gately.
Present.
Okay, so on tonight's agenda for the curriculum subcommittee, we have, I believe, some representatives from Girls Inc. and some of our staff who are going to present to us a pilot health program. So come on down.
If you would each introduce yourself before you start your presentation. Thank you.
I am Deb Tanzer. I am the Director of Nursing for the Lynn Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Bridget Brewer. I'm the manager of our Adolescent Sexuality Education Program at Girls Inc. of Lynn.
I'm Colleen Peterson, Assistant Director for PE Health Athletics.
I'm Jackie Western. I'm the Assistant Director of Nursing for the Lynn Public Schools.
Hello. So I will begin. We have our presentation up on the board. I believe you got that ahead of time. I'm here with a few others from the school department who will be presenting on a Girls Inc. health education program for elementary school students, specifically grades 4 and 5. Nursing is here to support and recommend piloting this program at a few of our elementary schools. Okay, so to start, we have shared the DESE vision in the health curriculum framework. Part of the vision is helping students gain agency in their health and develop understanding of the impact of health-related behaviors on current and future health and overall well-being. Students are making major life choices that will impact their health and future before they ever receive any formal health education. We want to reach our students earlier. So next, we are just sharing and reviewing the school policy on health education. It's the IHAM. This includes the school committee's belief that school offers the greatest opportunity for effective health education and reaching children at an age to develop lifelong positive health habits. It's a commitment to sound, comprehensive, research-based health education programs, which Bridget Brewer from Girls Inc. is going to review shortly. The policy highlights a health education program that will emphasize a contemporary approach to the presentation of information, skills, and the knowledge necessary for students to understand and appreciate the functioning and proper care of the human body. One that includes complex social, physical, and mental health problems that they may encounter in society in an effort to help students make intelligent choices.
Thank you. So first we wanted to look at what the data says. So research has shown that there's a strong connection between healthy behaviors and academic success. It makes sense that if students are healthy and know how to take care of themselves, then they tend to be in school more. Many people are probably familiar with the positive impacts of health education, like decreasing substance use and decreasing risky behaviors that lead to STIs and unintended pregnancies, but you may not be familiar with some of the other outcomes, such as students who have health programs are more likely to seek help for mental health problems, and they're less likely to perpetrate intimate partner violence and engage in sexual harassment. A health program also supports other initiatives that LPS has been working on to decrease substance use, such as I Decide, and supports the condom availability program. So then we looked at some trends related to menstruation. The average age of menarche, which is when a female has her first menstruation, has decreased to 11.9 years old, and the percentage of females who reach menarche before the age of 9 has doubled in the last 70 years. So if we wait until middle school to provide our students with education on puberty and menstruation, we are reaching them too late. Early menarche is also associated with negative outcomes, including higher risk of depression, eating disorders, substance abuse, and younger age at first sexual intercourse. These are all areas where health education has been shown to have a positive effect. Then we pulled some of our LPS data to see if it supported what the research has shown. This chart shows the number of gynecological visits we see in LPS by grade. Almost all of these visits are menses related, whether it be for cramps, needing a pad, or something else related to menses. As you can see, we are seeing 4th and 5th graders for menses related visits. And when you look at these numbers, this can't tell you how many of our students are menstruating, because when females get their first period, it's not regular for usually 2 to 3 years. So we don't really have an accurate assumption about how many students this is affecting. Sorry, let me just switch where it was. These numbers are through the beginning of January. They are increasing, and I checked them recently, and the numbers are up from where I put it earlier when I made this. This slide looks at the number of behavior incidents by school level for this school year. By introducing these programs in elementary school, we hope to lower the incidence of certain behaviors, especially those we see peaking in middle school, such as fighting and incidents that are sexual or obscene in nature. And then this data is from the LPS Youth Risk Behavior Survey. This is from the 2022 school year. The data from 2024 is still being analyzed, so we don't have that right now. But as you can see, almost 40% of our 6th graders reported self-injurious behaviors in the 12 months prior to taking this survey. By reaching our students earlier, we're hoping to see a decrease in these numbers.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. So I am from Girls Inc. of Lynn. If you're not familiar with Girls Inc., it's a national organization. We have an affiliate here in Lynn. And currently we are running our adolescent sexuality education in all of the Lynn public middle schools and high schools. And we have a really great opportunity through the Massachusetts Department of Public Health funding to implement the STRIVE program. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So as I mentioned, we are currently in the schools. We have professionally trained facilitators, and we use a comprehensive sex education from Informed and in Charge and Taking Charge. These are both Girls Inc. national toolkits, and we are hoping to use the age-appropriate version, Informed together, as part of the STRIVE program. Am I yelling into the microphone?
We just wanted to make a clarification. On the agenda, it says piloting a program for girls. This is all genders. Okay, it's not specific to girls.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do that at the beginning. I'm sorry.
Thank you. So the STRIVE program, this is funding from Department of Public Health. This is the Successful Teens Relationship Identity and Values Education Program. This is an initiative that's also guided by key principles, which include a commitment to racial justice, health equity, reproductive justice, evidence-based practice, positive youth development, trauma-informed care, and sustainability. The goal of STRIVE is to increase the opportunities for youth and hopefully increase those protective factors to then see a reduction in those risk factors. So we hope to have more positive youth development, community engagement, an understanding of their own bodies to make healthier decisions. And in return, we would likely see a reduction in unintended teen births and less inequities for unintended teen births, another decrease of risk factors such as substance abuse, bullying, delinquency, and sexual risk behaviors. So the pilot program, first of all, I want to say this would be an opt-in program. So it's a pilot program using our Girls Inc. National Toolkit Informed Together, which is age appropriate for ages 9 through 11. We would have our trained Girls Inc. facilitators implementing this. We would hold this with 4th and 5th graders at an elementary school. It would be about once a week for 11 to 13 weeks, depending on what their availability would be, for 45 minutes per session. We can be flexible. We can do either during this school day or as an after-school program. I would just highly encourage the during the school day portion if we're really thinking about that health equity piece. So the program outline, the activities that we would include in this, we would start off with a really important piece of our piloting program, a parent orientation session. We want parents buy-in. We want them to really know the education that their youth are getting and to be part of that education. We value parents as the primary educators when it comes to their sexual health. So this would be optional, so if they're not able to make that orientation session, their child would still be able to participate in the program. We can, again, be flexible and do something in person or virtual, whatever makes the most sense and is more accessible. Then we would start off with the youth, the 4th and 5th graders, with an introduction session. This is an opportunity to really let them know what the program's about, create a safe space with group agreements. We would do a pre-survey. There's information about that a little bit later on our opt-in form. And then it would also allow us an opportunity to get to know the students, create more of a comfortable space for them by doing get-to-know-you games, icebreakers, things of that matter. We would move on to talk about families. So we have 2 activities back-to-back, family with families and more about families. This has a strong focus on the messages and the values and beliefs of their families to, again, really incorporate what their family's role is when it comes to their education and their sexual health. Friends and crushes. This is all about healthy versus unhealthy relationships, and how you can use that knowledge, use those skills in different types of relationships, especially for them where we're seeing the bullying really peak in middle school. We're hoping that this can help build those healthy relationships. Enthusiastic yes, this is all about consent. So explaining what consent is and how it's important and how it can be used every day. It doesn't just have to do with sexual activity. And when we focus on enthusiastic yes, it does focus as a whole. So, people giving hugs and high fives and, having those conversations with people and understanding it's okay to say no, right? Then we would move on to talk more about their future, their goals, and how to make those goals SMART goals, and think about some things they have coming up that they would like to work towards. We would then move into anatomy. So this is learning about the parts of the body, including reproductive organs, as well as external genitals, which aligns with the national sex ed standards. We would talk about puberty. So there's 2 different sessions on puberty. One really gets them to talk about their feelings when it comes to puberty. There's a lot of fear when it comes to this topic. So really just giving them a space to express that, talk about their feelings, and then go into what happens during puberty. That's going to bring us into menstruation. We'll talk about what happens to the body during menstruation, why it happens, what type of products there are available for youth, and where they can access those things. And then the last portion, there's 3 sessions that focus on online safety. So getting online, really understanding what family values and family rules are when it comes to being online. Reading the pictures, understanding that what you see online isn't what really is always happening in real life, and that hopefully will help with their self-esteem and body image. And then online safety. So again, really understanding the dangers that are online and how to approach those safely. We would end with a final session, a celebration with a post-survey. We would do some sort of review game and then an opportunity to just have fun and celebrate them completing the program. So the parent inclusion portion. So like I mentioned, there would be a parent orientation, an optional pre-program parent orientation. Again, we can offer this in person, online, whatever makes the most sense. We would also include a letter home to really tell them more about the program. So even if they're not able to attend, we can provide those resources for them. An opt-in permission form. So this is an opportunity for parents to really know like what we're doing, to really have a buy-in in the program. And I will also share that opt-in form on the next slide. The last piece of the parent inclusion is pre-session informative emails. So we would send out an email to parents prior to each session, letting them know what the topic was being covered, as well as resources that they could use if they felt comfortable and wanted to have those conversations with their youth, or to just feel a little bit more comfortable being able to answer questions after they attend that program. So the opt-in process, before the start of the program, parents will receive a letter informing them about the program. It will be available in English and Spanish. We can provide a hard copy or an electronic copy. I would say with the electronic copy, it's a lot easier for them to just have a clickable link for resources. The forms include a description of the program and the toolkit being used. It will share that it will be facilitated by trained Girls Inc. staff, as well as information on the goals of the program, links to the policies, the law that you had seen earlier, and view the national sex ed standards that the program aligns with, and a little bit of information on the anonymous pre and post survey that are required through Mass Department of Public Health. If parents would like more information, if they wanted to view the activities ahead of time, my contact information would also be included. So that's just an example of what it looks like on the side. And then the last piece is just, sustainability. We know that sustainability is really important when it comes to working with our youth and really making an impact. We are currently teaching in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and then 9th through 12th grade with age-appropriate information. And we would love to have that opportunity to start working with the 4th and 5th graders to provide that age-appropriate information so that they can start to think about the ways to ask questions about their body, to know what's happening during puberty and during menstruation before it actually happens for them. So thank you.
My last part is I'm just going to go over how Informed Together aligns with the Mass Comprehensive Health PE frameworks, the new ones, 2023. So the lessons contain 5 of the CHP's practice standards, and they meet 20 standards within those practices. They're aligned with them, the key practices, especially in mental health, physical health, and relationship education, ensuring that students will receive accurate and age-appropriate information. The topics that are listed in the CHPE that will be covered and Informed Together are healthy relationships during Informed Together. There's open communication about friendships, family, and boundaries, which aligns with the CHPE's standards for social, emotional health, and personal safety. Also, mental and emotional health. The program helps students develop self-awareness, emotional regulation, and confidence, which are key aspects of the framework's mental health component. Public and community health. There are discussions about making healthy decisions, understanding support systems, and engaging in safe community practices. Environmental health, encouraging awareness of external factors that impact well-being, reinforcing CHPE's holistic approach to health education. Lastly, the topic of physical health and hygiene, which is reflected in discussions on self-care, hygiene routines, and physical well-being, ensuring alignment with the CHPE standards. And just lastly, I just want to mention that for the anatomy piece, that's a pre-K through 2 standard in the Mass CHPE, so bringing it in now in 4th and 5th grade, I feel like is appropriate. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Can I share something?
Oh, yes, of course, Dr. Alvers.
Thank you. I just want to be clear that it's brought in front of school committee today as a curriculum to be integrated with the physical education within the school day. When we reviewed this, it was our belief that doing an after-school program would not provide access to enough students based on varying transportation needs and being able to stay after school. So this would be a program that would be implemented during the school day, during the physical education block, and those that don't opt in would receive physical education instead of the 11 to 13 weeks. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
Member Gately?
I'm glad that there are videos that were mentioned in this curriculum that threw me off and threw off other members, and I'm glad that you do not use those videos in our elementary schools, correct?
Right, that is correct.
And the other thing of very importance to me is that it's parents opt in. If they don't opt in, they don't have to do it. They go to gym. The other thing I wanted to know is, this program is in grades 6 through 8 now?
6 through 12.
12, but how many students opt in grades 6 through 8?
So do you mind, is that okay? Yeah, so 6 through 8, actually 6 through 12 is all, is opt out.
Oh,
So it's
opt out.
passive refusal, yes. And we have some that do opt out. The parents receive information at least a week prior to us going in, and they're able to either contact me if they have questions or would like to view the toolkit that we use, or they can just sign the form and they hand it into their health teacher ahead of time.
Okay, but that's made clear to the parents, like if they're opting in elementary school,
Yeah.
and then they go into middle school, they think, I'm not opting in, and then they have their child come home and say they're taking it because they didn't opt out. Is that going to be made very clear to the parents?
So it's the letter that we provide is sent home, and it's also on their Schoology pages.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want me to take it? Do you have questions?
Member Pena?
Thank you for the presentation. I'm really glad that there's an opt-out with it, so I really appreciate that. One of the questions I had was, and thank you for all the work you do at Girls Inc. You know, you're raising a lot of leaders. I was just curious, do you offer this at Girls Inc.? Do you offer this at Girls Inc., and how
We're
much?
currently running it right now, yes.
Run it over there?
Yep.
And how many, what's the percentage of, the girls in getting involved in parents?
That's a great question. It depends. We have some students that start with us in 6th grade, middle school, and go all the way until they graduate. So they go through this program multiple times.
Now, have you tried it at the 4th and 5th grade level at Girls Inc.?
So I have myself piloted a program with the school age childcare, and one of them was actually 5 through 8. So the years 5 through 8. Yeah.
I was looking at, as I'm reading through the material, one of the videos was Boss of My Baby, right? Now, the source of that, is that the site Amaze?
So
Is
we,
that what
yes,
that's-
so we
the
use
source of the-
amaze.org
Yeah.
for some of our videos, as long as they align with the topic that we are covering. But we're not using amaze.org videos with this specific program.
Okay, so you're not gonna use Amaze, okay?
Right, so the
Yeah.
letter that, that was an example letter that we used for our childcare program when we were running the age-appropriate program for 5 to 8.
But you are gonna use the video Boss of My Baby, correct?
No,
No, you're not, okay, 'cause that's okay. All right. Thank you, I appreciate it, thank
Yeah,
you.
of course, thank you.
That's all I have, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is, so from my understanding, this is something that we have to implement at the elementary level from DESI standards. Is this
Yes.
something that we have to do?
No, it is not. This is our decision to supplement the current health curriculum.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a curriculum. I have a question.
Member Gately?
These aren't DESI standards?
Yes, there are DESI standards, but the curriculum is not,
Oh, I get it.
the question was it something that this curriculum was, that's what I understood.
Mandated, yeah, that's something that's a new, coming from the top, something that we have to implement now. So it's just, it's DESI standards, but it's something that we don't have to.
We have to implement the standards,
Correct.
Yes.
but we don't have to implement
This.
this particular program.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear. Okay. So, we only have two.
Motion, yeah. So
Don't you make the motion, and I second it? I think so. All right, I'm gonna make a motion to move forward to the committee of the whole, the elementary education program for grades 4 and 5.
Okay. Second. Roll call, please.
Member Satterwhite, absent. Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
and,
you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much to all of you and to Girls Inc. for all the work. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And that adjourns the curriculum subcommittee meeting. Really? Bridget? Okay, now I'd like to call to order the policy subcommittee meeting for January 30th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Reed? Member Satterwhite, absent.
All right, so tonight we have two policies that we are going to be looking at. The first is policy IKF, graduation requirements. And we're going to dive into that with Deputy Superintendent Goris and Attorney Gallo.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Policy Subcommittee Chairperson Dugan, members of the subcommittee, Mayor, members of the administration. For the record, Charlie Gallo, Lynn Public Schools Compliance Officer, and my pleasure to be here with
Deputy Superintendent Maricel Goris.
Thank you. And the PowerPoint that we're going to show you today notes it's from the Office of Data Assessment and Accountability and the Compliance Office. Really, this is a proposal about what happens post MCAS, and really that first group and the assessment wing under Dr. Shorter helped and led on this. Compliance then helped to articulate the vision and put it into policy form that's in front of you. But I want to acknowledge a PowerPoint slide is only so big, and there are a lot of other hands who are in this. And so I want to acknowledge just for a moment folks who helped in some way, participated in some way with this. The superintendent, all deputies, in addition to Dr. Shorter from DAT, Dr. Kathy Aiello, who you'll meet tonight, is here in the audience. Curriculum through the Chief Academic Officer, DEI, Innovation, SEL, MLE, Special Education, secondary principals, some guidance counselors, and others, too numerous to name, who participated in some way, and some are here in the audience today. So I just wanted to make that acknowledgement before moving forward. All right. So the objectives today are going to explain the outcome and implications of ballot question 2. That was the MCAS ballot question that this committee went on record with regard to back in November. We're going to look at the previous graduation and competency determination requirements when we had MCAS, and then we're going to introduce proposals that would begin this year and continue on to future years, and also talk to you a little bit about a retroactive piece as well. So here's the background. Everybody knows that the ballot question 2 results were pretty overwhelming statewide in Massachusetts and in Lynn. You saw that resulted in the MCAS as a graduation requirement essentially ending. Prior to that happening, just on your screen are the scores that were required to pass the MCAS. And following that ballot question, DESE has put it on the districts to figure out what their competency determination requirements are going to be post MCAS. And so there's two things going on. There's graduation requirements. What are the programs and courses that all students need to take? In addition to that, how do we show competency, which are two related but separate items. Okay. So DESE says that you take the new language of the statute as a district, you align your policy to it, school committee considers and ultimately approves a policy. We share that with students and families, with educators, and with stakeholders in multiple languages, and that competency determination post MCAS has got to measure the things that MCAS tested, which are those highlighted items there. This is the new language of the statute as of December 11th, 2024. All right. So I do want to note this, and this is important for members of the committee and I think also parents and guardians in the community. MCAS participation is still a requirement per DESE. It's not to get a competency determination or diploma, but it's still going to be offered every year despite this question. This is taken directly from a DESE frequently asked questions that was issued in mid-December. MCAS is still going to be an accountability measure for districts, so it's important to incentivize participation ultimately, and it's also important to look at that data. All of that still is in existence post question 2, but what is different is how do we measure competency, and I'm going to share with or turn over to the Deputy Superintendent on that topic.
Thank you, Charlie. So we came up with some proposed pathways to competency determination, and we did this by class. We did this in order to align with our strategic growth, which is ambitious, rigorous, and achievable. We had our guiding principles lead this work, so we're grounded in these principles of balanced ambition with achievable progress, increase rigor progressively over time, and align goals with students' needs. Our vision ultimately was to ensure that this policy was clear and measurable for all students, a gradual scaling of rigor, and equitable access for growth and achievement. This is in support of our community-informed portrait of a graduate that expects graduates to be critical thinkers, leaders, and expected to participate fully in a global society. So the proposal for a class of 2023-2024, we are proposing that students receive a passing course grade in the equivalent of 10th grade mathematics, ELA in science or technology and engineering, and that would meet the criteria for competency determination. So a transcript review will determine eligibility, and a diploma would be dated 2025, accompanied by a letter of explanation from the Lynn Public Schools. So the eligibility applies to former LPS students who did not meet the MCAS graduation requirements, and this is for students in cohorts 2003 to 2024, when MCAS graduation requirement was in effect. The process for requesting a review would be online. We'd have a review period twice a year, one for June, July, and the other for November, December, with clear submission deadlines in order to ensure that our previous students are reviewed with integrity. Our proposal for the class of 2025 is for passing course grade in 10th grade for mathematics, ELA, and science, technology, engineering. If students did not meet that criteria outlined here, the students will participate in course recovery programs in order to meet the requirement of a passing course grade. Similarly, for class of 2025, the proposal for a class of 2026 to 2028 includes the passing grade of those required courses and to meet one universal pathway, which I'll review in the next slide. For those that do not have a passing course grade for those core classes, which are delineated in the slide, they will have access to course recovery programs to earn that passing grade. The proposal for class of 26 to 2028 competency determination requirement allows for universal pathways. Students have up to 12 options by which they can determine their competency. And all these are real-world skills and and assessments that would support students pursuing careers and/or college after high school. So this universal pathway would be the universal the determination requirement, but I also want to note that it could also include any additional pathways as determined by the superintendent or designee. For our English language learners, I want to refer to our policy on students with disabilities and English language learners, which states that all students must meet the competency determination requirements indicated, but may do so with applicable accommodations and/or modifications in the case of students on 504 plans, IEPs, including students with significant cognitive disabilities or complex and significant disabilities, and/or English learners. Therefore, our proposals for English language learners, is that in their universal pathways, that an English language learner are expected to meet this competency through the universal pathways, and that the district end of course exams will be translated as an accommodation that will be provided to the students in the program, if so eligible. Proposal for students with disabilities is that, yes, they will be required to participate in the universal pathways. They're expected to meet this competency determination. And in addition to that, individualized pathways for academic and life readiness will apply to students with the most significant cognitive disabilities or complex and significant disabilities through a personalized learning portfolio or a transition portfolio with appropriate accommodations and/or modifications, similar that we do currently for our students with disabilities that have cognitive complex disabilities. Just a reminder that we have been working under the principles of guiding this process in a way that releases up to a rigorous expectation. So our proposal for class of 2029 and beyond supports reimagining the high school experience. And so our hope is that we continue to provide students opportunity to demonstrate college and career readiness, and that their diverse interests and individual goals are actualized. And lastly, that their skills are developed to compete and thrive in a global economy. As such, our proposal for class of 2029 and beyond, which is currently the 9th graders, is to attain a 2.0 unweighted grade point average in the core courses that have been named throughout the PowerPoint presentation, and to meet one universal pathway, as indicated in this slide. Just to give you a quick chart of what I just went over in a summary form, here's the criteria for each class, 2003 to 2024, the current class of 2025, future class of 26 to 28, and for 2029 and beyond. It tells you what are the criteria in order to meet the competency determination, and as you see, we solely move into ensuring the passing of courses, providing opportunities for them to have access to universal pathways, and then finally attaining a 2.0 unweighted grade point average in core courses, so as not to be limited to opportunities beyond high school. Sorry, is that yours?
So we're happy, of course, to take any questions. What I have on the screen, though, is the existing policy IKF with the amendments highlighted. With the amendments highlighted in the second portion. I'll go through it. The whole first portion, though, is new. This is the way districts are doing it. They're preceding their existing graduation requirements policy pretty universally with a competency determination policy. So I'm happy to go through that piece for you briefly, or take any questions, whatever, through Chairperson Dugan you prefer we do.
Yeah, I guess we'll just go right to questions if that's okay with the committee. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Member Pena, Member Gately, Member Reed.
Thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate it. Like the fact that we're still setting some standards and some goals for it. It's not going to be an easy walkthrough just because we got rid of MCAS. And my question was for the proposal for class of 2000. People can go back from 2003 to 24. Are you going to implement anything for disabilities or? And the ELs, are they going to have accommodations for them also? And I know the process is online only, but will they be able to have accommodations for ELs and disabilities on that?
So the proposal is stating that they would pass the course. So many students passed the course.
Mm-hmm.
They did not pass the MCAS. For those students that need additional support because they did not pass those 10th grade courses,
Mm-hmm.
we are looking to partner with some organizations to support in providing accommodations and modifications and almost like a review in order for them to be able to pass those courses.
Yeah, because language barriers was a big part of people not meeting MCAS standards. So my questions. So you are going to partner with nonprofits to try to accommodate. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
This began, over 20 years ago, and people have lots of life experience, and that also influences their academic language ability. So you'll be surprised that many folks will be able to pass the course, but we will accommodate and provide modifications if they were so determined at that time to be English language learners or special ed students.
Thank you.
Member Gately.
I want to know what a passing grade is. Because in the end here, it says like a 2.0 unweighted grade, and that would be a C. And I can understand that in 2029 because we'll have the facilities to enable our high school teachers to have the class sizes that they need to be able to help their students to attain those levels that they need. So that's what I want to know. Like, I'm sure every parent, every kid, everybody out there is like, what's that passing grade? And are we talking about passing grade in 10th grade and then taking courses to increase it by senior year to graduate? Are we talking about on senior year if they don't have these passing grades? I need some clarification for my teachers in the buildings and for those students that are in class. You know how big the class sizes are. And like next year, they'll get smaller. And the year after that, we're talking about high school. We're not talking about middle or elementary school right now. We are talking about the high school, and I want clarification on that so they know. So what's a passing grade?
So currently, the passing grade has been the average of courses in which they have requirements for a mass core that they must pass. So any of those core courses, a passing grade right now, based on the scale, has been a 1.0.
Yes.
Which is nearly not rigorous enough for our students to obtain a high school diploma. So the 2.0 begins with next year's freshman class at graduation. So when the class of 2029 begins next year, they will be freshmen, and beginning from there on, it would be a 2.0 unweighted in those core courses that they must pass. We're not talking about electives, right? They have to have a 2.0 unweighted. When we're talking about,
Wait, is that every year? They'd have to have a 2.0?
it's every, well, you have to pass all your courses in order to end up with a 2.0 at the end.
Yeah.
So you would have to pass every single English class for 4 years with a 2.0.
You,
Math?
or higher, yes,
Well, higher probably,
yes.
but
You could technically get an A in one course and a D in another and still end up with a 2.0. It's a 2.0 graduation,
Overall,
which is pretty standard across the country for a high school diploma.
I thought you were
At the
talking
current
about
time,
every
yes.
single grade. Okay, I get that. But with the overcrowded in our schools right now, is it attainable in our high schools?
I don't believe that a student's grade, right, is impacted by how many, I mean, that's about the delivery of instruction and effectiveness, right, of the strategies used in the classroom and also holding students accountable to pass their courses. So as much as we would like to say it's only based on overcrowding, I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that that's true.
Oh, okay.
Member Reed.
I have a few questions here. The first one is, this is sort of, I guess, a little bit unrelated, but sort of the backward-looking MCAS. Is there any way that we or somehow the state can do outreach to all the people who would have otherwise passed if it wasn't for this?
So that's
I know it's tricky.
No, that's a great question, Member Reed. We actually do that now.
Oh, great.
And it's required under a DESE process.
Okay.
And the way it works presently is that you have to reach out for the 2 years following their departure from the Lynn Public Schools. So, for example, let's say it was this year, class of 2025, we would reach out in 26 and 27. So we'll have to do some kind of process, I'm sure, again, but DESE has not yet kicked out guidance exactly on how that works, but it does work now in that way.
Gotcha.
I would guess something similar will happen.
And is that like based on, you send a letter to, I know it's getting in the degree, but you send a letter to their house, or do they have an email? How does?
Great question. So it's very prescribed, and it's letter to their last known address.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And so right now we only do it for 2 years back, and you're saying there could be an instance where DESE says you got to go further back, or just going forward, or I don't want to speculate. I'm just curious what.
Yeah. So MCAS started, as a graduation requirement in 2003. Excuse me.
It's a long time.
And right, exactly. So realistically, most people are not
Sure.
going to live at the same address. We're not going to have that information, but I'm sure we'll do some outreach somehow, through social media or press release or something,
Gotcha.
to be sure that folks know and can take advantage of this.
Great. My second, thank you, Attorney Gallo. My second question is, what have we looked, or do we know what other districts are doing? Is this on par, or sort of is everyone doing their own thing right now, trying to figure it out?
So it's the latter.
Yeah.
There are some districts that are taking an approach that is forward-looking, like we're doing. There are some districts that are doing temporary approaches and waiting for more state guidance. There's really not a lot of time to come up with something. I will tell you that we reached out to the 4 districts that I feel we're most similar to for this purpose last week. As of last week, 3 of the 4 had not come up with their plan. DESE would like districts to come up with their plan by February. So we're getting close to that. Those districts are Salem, Lawrence, Fall River, and New Bedford. The reason that we looked so closely at them is they live where we live in current rankings, and they are either demographically similar, or in the case of Salem, not demographically similar and much smaller, but they are nearby. So those are the 4 districts that fall within that. I won't name names, but only one of the 4 had come out with their plan yet, and it was a temporary in nature plan.
Great. Thanks for being ahead of it.
Can I just add to that? I happened to go to the urban superintendent meeting, the last meeting, and many of the superintendent and assistant superintendents that were present, the topic was this CD determination. And like Attorney Gallo just said, it was the gamut of where people were. Everyone was talking about passing courses and a 2.0 or higher. Everyone was talking about accommodations and supporting Ls, but no one really had a definitive pathway that they were going yet. Everyone is kind of scrambling, trying to figure it out. I would say that Lynn Public Schools really has done a phenomenal job of the team that was on this, of really giving solid guidance on, the pathways that you could take going forward.
Attorney Gallo, maybe after this you can reach out to the other districts and send them over. Be the model.
I've made a promise to one such district, actually. It's funny you say that. Could I just add, though, that, no vote that you take as school committee members is permanent, set in stone forever. And so that should give some peace, hopefully, if you were to consider this, that, 5 years down the road, there needs to be a change. There could be a change. It shouldn't stop you, I would say, respectfully, obviously, from your vantage point now, doing the best that we can. And of course, if we need to tinker with things down the road, then I'm always happy to come back and visit policy sub.
Thank you for that. Sorry, a few more questions. So I was looking at the sort of the policy for students with disabilities, and I don't know what technically, word for word, but did anything at all change in that, or it seems very, very similar, right?
Great question. So it is very similar, and ultimately, all students still have to meet their competency determination. Of the districts we looked at, there was only one with a significant build-out for students with disabilities. The provision that you'll see on I believe it's the third page of the proposed new policy, is a brief provision that references 504 IEP or MLE accommodations and modifications. It was written in concert with the district special education attorney. Special education was at the table for the discussions of this, and I'd recognize the deputy director, Jess McLaughlin, is in the audience here as well, with regard to this.
Great. And oh, and so any of these, I'm looking at these here, this sort of list of bullets of potential benchmarks to help graduate. Are any of those new, I guess? Like where it says district end of course exam, I guess that would just be a final? District, is that just a final?
Yes, it would be a final.
Okay. And then one last question, sorry. Do we have any idea how many students today would pass into these requirements? So we can't because these are all new. I guess we don't have the data for like ACT, SAT, or all these different requirements. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we have some data for SAT, PSAT.
So I just meant the whole thing. Yeah.
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 We do have some data. We do have really good outcomes with Seal It by Literacy, our federally recognized apprenticeship, our CTE, advanced placement, dual credit. IB and CLEP exams would be a new option that folks could take. CLEP meaning college level entrance placement exam.
Yeah.
And the district and the course exam is something that we would work collaboratively with the curriculum office to establish an end of course exam that really reflects the standards.
So do we have any idea how many people would be compliant if this was kind of backwards looking, or?
We know we can't say because those are 8th graders right now.
Right. Oh yeah.
So
but like
I want to give them
students.
some grace. But we do have right now how many would graduate with the passing course expectation.
Okay.
Kathy Aiello can bring us that data point.
So as of right now, we have 180 students that have not yet met their competency with the old MCAS. So
what is competency in this? I'm confused.
the MCAS
Okay,
exam. So
just strictly the MCAS.
The
Okay.
competency determination is
Gotcha.
determined by their
Yeah.
MCAS tests. So district-wide, we have 180 students right now that would affect. So most of those students with these requirements would pass with the diploma.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And one other option, there is a portfolio option of one of the 13.
Yeah.
And that is very similar to what is a portfolio requirement that we have done in the past. So for those students that don't pass the test, there are other options that DESE applied to cohort appeals and portfolio appeals. So that capstone option is going to be very similar to the portfolio appeal.
Thank you. Sorry for the million questions.
They're great questions.
Member Dugan.
Thank you. I guess my question, without speculating too much, I know Governor Healy and DESE are still kind of hashing things out. I mean, how, if at all, I guess it would be hard to speculate, but just what are your feelings on if they do come up with something to replace MCAS? What are we going to do moving forward? That being said, before you answer that, I do appreciate how thorough this is as well, but you know, what are our thoughts on that?
I can answer that, Member Dugan. At this point in time, there's no suggestion that that is going to occur, that because the participation is still required for MCAS. And so I understand they're also putting together a council, which means that if the council has agreement on some of the requirements that should be in place for students and districts to graduate, I would want to make sure that we review that, again, those requirements are also tailored to the students in our district. Because just like the MCAS was a decision like, this is the one test, right, that will determine your success and your exit out of high school, we want to make sure that we give students as many options as possible on how to meet the exit from high school requirements. And so, you know, I don't know if they'll replace the actual test with something else, but it would seem, you know, after the vote has been taken, that there shouldn't be one universal test, right? Just one avenue or method to determine whether a student should leave high school and if that is a real indicator of their future success. And I don't believe that, right, as a district, we believe that. So we felt that giving them as many options as possible to meet that same competency would actually benefit students. Right.
Absolutely, and I agree. I think all the pathways you laid out are great, and I think really fits our student well. So I do appreciate everything you guys did and all the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Gately.
On classes of 2026 through 2028, Deb, can you check CLEP exams? And then I don't understand what that ERS is. I think it's a typo, so it needs to get taken out.
So, thank you, Member Gately. So it's behind you on the screen. I wanted to disclose that there is one typo in a parenthetical. You caught me. I was going to disclose it though, but it is behind you, and the redraft has that fix. We just left out the qualifying score, so that's just one change. Otherwise, what you have in front of you is the proposal. It precedes the existing IKF, which is the existing graduation policy requirement, which has a couple of language changes, adding technology and engineering to science, but otherwise is what this board voted on. I believe it was in November of 2023, aligned with MassCore. And my favorite part of it, I want to just mention, is 26 through 28, those pathways. I'll just read the language. It is pathways so designated by the superintendent or their designee, which may include the following and or any other such universal pathways so designated. So we can, you know, we know where we're at now. We know where our students are at now. This can evolve to be sure that we're providing an equitable process for an outcome that you know, supports all of our students for success.
When I saw the word, I was like, what is this? That's why I had to bring it up, so you get it out of there. We don't want it in our policy.
Always grateful for the proofreading help. Thank you, Member Gately.
To former teacher.
Yes.
I don't catch them all.
All right, so no further questions or comments?
Yeah, make a motion to go ahead and move these new graduation requirements to the committee of the whole.
Second, roll call, please.
Member Dugan,
Yes.
Member Gately?
I'm not on the.
No, she's not paused. It's just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Member Dugan, Member Reed,
Yes.
and Member Satterwhite, absent.
Okay. All right, thank you. We do have one more policy. I know that's a big one, graduation, so hang in there with us. But we are gonna look at policy JJICA, which is the athletic eligibility high school transfer policy. And again, Deputy Superintendent Corus and Attorney Gallo are gonna lead us through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Dugan. So this is the policy that was adopted a couple of years ago that ended sort of athletic appeals as they were and put in criteria of when an individual who transferred from one school to another school could participate in the sports in the new school. And what's happened since then is Lynn Public Schools has grown quite a lot. We now have a school coming with lottery-based admission. We have Frederick Douglass. We're going to have CASA. And so this policy is no substantive change, just updating the language and including lottery-based admission schools, any that may come, and specifying that, schools that don't have teams, you would play with the district team or choose classical or English. This is just no substantive change, just an updated language to take into account where we are going and where we may go in the future. And that is my 30-second spiel on this one. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions from the committee? Member Pena, Member Reed?
All right, just for clarification, so on a lottery-based admission, right, the standard doesn't apply, right, to like the STEAM Science Academy, and from what I'm reading here, tech is not an option. It's either classical or Lynn English.
Exactly right. So if you're in a school that is not a quote unquote district school, so you've gotten through an admission process like LVTI, lottery basis, application basis, whatever the case may be. If there's no team at that school, you would play for English or classical or a combined team if one exists.
I mean, I disagree with that, but this is the policy, these are the rules. I think if a student's at Science Academy or Frederick Douglass and wants to play for Lynn Tech, the Tigers or whatever, I believe the student should have a choice. But thank you for the clarification.
Okay. You gonna call me?
Yeah. No, I did. Member Reed, I'm
Oh,
sorry. Yes.
Was my question. Oh, does the MIA have any guidance on this, or is this a pretty unique situation? Because I know they're pretty, their rules can be pretty interesting.
There are not a ton of districts that have so many
Figured,
different high schools, and so Lynn had a unique policy, which was this appeals board, which I think was totally unique, and we worked a couple of years ago quite diligently with Colleen Peterson and the ADs of the various schools to come up with a policy that worked for Lynn, but there's not a ton of MIA guidance on this. We did look at a couple of other larger districts though, and so what we have in place and what we're not trying to change is something that is pretty standard for districts of like ours.
Do you have a question?
No, good. I think that settled it. Yeah. Good. Member Gately.
I think you got it right on this one, Charlie.
Thank you.
Attorney Gallo. I liked it. I liked the explanation. I think that it's clear. I think that if you're a high school student at classical or English and going to Frederick Douglass or CASA or Fectal Dairy, they'll be able to. It seems unfair to tech, but it really isn't, because a lot of the students that go to English or classical would feed into these other programs. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
I have one
Member Reed.
question.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry. Was it the case before, and I'm misremembering this, it was before my time, but did Fector used to choose what school they went to? Is that correct? Does anyone know?
I honestly don't know. I think they make an initial choice in the policy so that they, let's see, if there's no, you know what, historically I don't know very
Okay,
honestly.
we can talk
look into
later.
that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. No, not consequential anyways.
Deb, could you provide context?
This initially was.
We can talk offline.
What would you rather?
I think we should continue with this, like, this is what we.
Gotta be there.
All right, I'll make a motion to move forward. Do we have to make a motion with this, or is this already? Okay, I'll make a motion to move forward with the updated athletic eligibility high school transfer policy
Second.
for the full committee.
Second. Roll call, please.
Member Dugan,
Yes.
Member Reed,
Yes.
Member Satterwhite, absent.
Okay, seeing no further business for the policy subcommittee, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I think if a kid goes to science academy,
Well,
chooses to go.
Well,
they play, it's just
so the
way he
MIA
wants
does have a policy with that. If they're housed in a building and
Yeah.
is under one principal, that's what they have to play for, and I think that's
Yeah.
why Tech is isolated, you know, because they have their own programs.
it. Yeah,
and,
that's, but I mean, me personally, if a student goes to, choose, or a science academy, because they're trying to go to a different academic level.
Yeah, yeah,
And we wanna push student athletes, so
yeah, we
we
do.
should make an exception to them, those students.
Good. I'm sure the coaches at Tech would like to.
You wanna be around?
Go for it. No, I hear you.
You're not
Tech's
gonna join
unique, though.
Costco now, they're in a hot street, no, you can't
no,
transfer.
No, Marvin's gotta keep it rolling.
Oh, they're playing tonight.
All right, I'm going to call to order the open mic session. The open mic session is designed to provide an opportunity for citizens to express their views on matters of concern in the school community. The sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand numerous points of view. The committee would appreciate speakers keeping their presentation to 3 minutes in order to accommodate as many people as time permits. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers in the same topic to 3. All speakers must be at least 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in the Lynn Public Schools District and having discussed their views with a student government representative. The chair reserves the right to rule the speaker out of order if they feel that the speaker's comments are personal in nature. If a speaker's comments are directed at a school committee member or a member of school administration in attendance, that member, through the chair, may address the individual. No. There's no one signed up. Is anyone here wishing to speak at open mic? Anyone for open mic? Yep. If you could please just share your name and address.
Good evening. I am a Sondam Ford chap, and I live at 149 Pleasant Street in Massachusetts. And my name is Sondam Ford chap, a current senior at Lynn English High School. And today I and my fellow organizers at Neighbor to Neighbor are joined here today to demand for educational equity in bringing funding for school-based extracurriculars and programs within Lynn schools. Put yourselves in this scenario. You're a bright young freshman excited about the different opportunities offered in, say, Lynn English. You passionately join the math team, the environmental club, or maybe even join a sport like volleyball. But soon, you quit the math team due to the lack of consistent transportation, materials, and repeated losses. You leave the environmental club as none of your projects are properly funded, and you ultimately abandon volleyball as you are left to play with broken equipment and a lack of support. This is the grim reality for a lot of students in Lynn schools who are forced to give up their passions due to not receiving adequate funding from this system. To combat these issues, I and every youth sitting behind me bonded together for months and worked hard to create change. We first conducted a survey, which will be provided upon request after this meeting, with nearly 200 responses from students and teachers across Lynn schools. We got an overwhelming amount of responses, with the majority of students agreeing with the notion that extracurriculars within Lynn schools are overwhelmingly underfunded and in dire need of supports. We collaborated with organizations such as Brown Promise to organize a citywide event where students as young as middle schoolers united and engaged in this mission to bring funding for Lynn schools and Lynn school extracurriculars. We even engaged with a few members in this board to bring attention to this issue. The Lynn Public Schools have a budget of tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions, and it is the duty of this board to allocate the funding properly and correctly. Our demands are clear, and as outlined by this, sorry, I should have provided this earlier. please pass it down if possible. And as outlined by this proposal form that is currently being handed out, we have a few demands. Firstly, we ask that you address the transportation issues and provide consistent and readily available transportation for athletic clubs such as the cheerleading team that doesn't currently have available transportation for the competitions, and academic clubs, teams, organizations, and sports that don't currently have a platform for consistent transportation. Secondly, we ask that you provide an annual budget that is adequate for maintaining, replacing, and fixing sports equipment and educational materials such as books or maybe even engineering equipment. Third, we ask that you host annual club and athletic fairs during school hours for all Lynn schools and grades, and as well updating the school website and creating spaces for detailed and accurate club information. Fourthly, we ask that you increase advisor stipends by at least 50% to attract and maintain passionate mentors that want to continue enlightening students. And finally, we demand that an extracurricular task force consisting of students, teachers, administrations, and parents. By listening to our demands, we ask that you look at this issue through the lens of that young student who lost all their passion due to the factors outside of their control. Let this be a precedent to continue your mission of equity and support of the students. I now carefully ask that you listen to the voices and stories of the students behind me and listen to the affliction of their voices. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else wishing to speak at open mic? Anyone else for open mic? Yep, okay. If you could just state your name and address, and I'll set the timer here.
Hello all, my name is Mariana Pagan. I live at 253 Chestnut Street in Lynn. And I'm here today to address similar things that my co-partner Forchap mentioned. I'm part of Neighbor to Neighbor. I go to Lynn English. I'm a senior. I've gone there for all 4 years. I've been in Lynn District schools for my whole life. And I've written just a bit to speak. Good evening. My name is Mariana Pagan, and I'm a senior at Lynn English and a youth organizer for Neighbor to Neighbor Lynn. I'm here tonight because I've witnessed firsthand how Lynn's extracurricular activities are not only underfunded, but inaccessible to many students. For the past 4 years, I've played on the Lynn English volleyball team and served as the captain of our mock trial team. And for 4 years, I've seen how our students are forced to do with less. We played with a broken volleyball net for 2 years. 2 seasons where we trained, competed, and represented our school while struggling with the equipment that should have been a basic necessity. Meanwhile, we have to fight just to get to our games, often waiting for over an hour for one bus, one that we have to triple up on because our size of our team. How is that fair? How are we supposed to compete on an equal ground when other schools don't face these barriers? For mock trial, other schools walk into competitions backed by attorneys and judges, getting real courtroom experience, while we sit in the classroom struggling to print our case materials because our printers have no ink. We're expected to go up against teams with legal professionals training them, while we don't even have the resources to properly prepare. It is disheartening. And the result? After 4 years, I see it clearly. Disinterest, decline, disadvantage. At a school of over 2,000 students, we barely have enough players to form a team. Because why would students stay when they see that they are not being given the same opportunities as their peers in other districts? This isn't about sports. This isn't just about mock trial. This is about equity. This is about our future. Lynn students are talented. We are hardworking. We are resilient. But we should not have to rely on resilience alone. We deserve the same resources, the same access, the same opportunities as students in better funded districts. So I ask, what will it take for our extracurriculars to be taken seriously? For our athletes, our competitors, our students to be given a fair shot? Because I promise you, if you invest in us, we will show exactly why we are worth it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else for open mic? Anyone for open mic? Is that someone headed to open mic or yeah? Okay. Just state your name and address, please. Thank you.
My name is Wendell Rodriguez. I live at 20 Tormy Lane in Lynn. And I wanted to quickly state about the inequalities that happen in our school. I'm a member of the football team, And just recently, a couple of weeks back, our weight room was under renovation for weeks at like a couple of weeks at a time. We were trying to do weight room for our team, and we weren't able to do so. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, other schools like Peabody or Swampscott wouldn't have to go through this, but our schools this happens quite often. And it also made me think about how our equipment, like our helmets, we've been using the same helmets for a while. Yeah, they get refurbished, but it's also disheartening as a player, because we use Riddell Speeds, which are they're up to date. They work, they function. But it's like when you go against other teams that have higher funding like Peabody, their entire roster has Speed Flexes, which is also from the same company, but it's even more state of the art. And it's just you see the difference in our teams. We have about, I'd say, 40 players, and then you look across the stadium and it's 60, 70 players on Peabody's team. It just makes you think, this is probably the reason that we don't have much players, is because our funding is so low for our team, and we look around and it's disheartening to as a football player. I play because I love football, and I never really took a step back to realize that a lot of our equipment, a lot of things that we have is not the same as other teams that are more successful than us. And this season, we had a pretty bad season, but I wouldn't blame it so much on the players, as it's hard to continue after you feel man, you look around and you just see other teams as the same age as you, where we all go to high school. We're all the same. We're all players. We're all people. But they're doing so much better, and they have so much better to work with. And it hurts as a player, because I love the game. I love playing football. But it's the difference in funding and the difference in performance is very easy to see. Even as a young kid or a teenager, it's hard, as you just see it all around you, and it's very disheartening. And it doesn't just stop at the football team. You see even our own cheer team, they practice on torn mats that they have been using for many, many years, even before probably I was born. And it's really...
What school is this?
Lynn Classical.
Lynn Classical.
And it's definitely the same around English, because my friend has told me over here. But thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Imani de Jesus. I live on 19 Lilly Street here in Lynn, Massachusetts. I attend Lynn English, and I have been on the cheer team since my freshman year. And throughout the course of my freshman year, I have seen a lot of unfair advantages for the cheerleaders. We have had buses arrive 2 hours late to games or barely even arrive at all. And it's very hard to support a team, regardless of whether it's football or basketball, when they're 2 hours, 3 hours away, and knowing that you're going to be the only people there at our school to cheer for them. I noticed this difference not only in the way us being there, but also in the way it affects our team when we had a game in Woburn. You see, when we went to Woburn, even when they didn't have a cheer team, their student section was packed. Their uniforms were up to date. Everything about the auditorium was exciting. There was energy and there was pride within their school. We barely have kids even show up to games at our school. And you can make the argument that they don't want to be there, or you can make the argument they don't have pride in the high school that they go to. And that's a fair assumption to make. I've been on this cheer team, as I said, since I was a freshman, and I have seen the deterioration of our mats to the point where they have hardened. That I know some girls that don't even want to throw a tumbling pass simply because they're scared of getting injured on mats that are to protect us. It's hard to do stunts knowing that you are the only thing keeping your flyer from hitting that floor, and it's terrifying. They have shifted under us. There are no straps to even hold them together. They move under our feet, no matter what we do, no matter where we stand, even if we stand still. Another really hard thing is the fact our uniforms are not cohesive. And yeah, you can make that argument that not all of us take care of them, but I would disagree with you on that. We have pride in our team, and we have pride knowing that together we are a family. But it's hard when you go out there and you don't look together. You don't look like a team, you don't look like a family. It has gotten to a point where a lot of girls had to swap their uniforms with each other to even look cohesive to compete on a mat, to represent our high school. And even outside of a uniform, I still represent the city of Lynn. One person can walk up to me and ask me where I'm from, and the second I say Lynn, I'm held to a disadvantage. I'm held to be below average simply because Lynn kids are pictured to be lazy, undeserving, not hardworking. We fall into a stereotype that we ourselves didn't even get to pick. When you compare us to schools like Peabody or Swampscott or Woburn or Salem, we are held below them. They do not see us as an equal. I have had situations where I would walk into a competition wearing my uniform and having to go to the bathroom. They'd be nice to our face, but the second we walk away, their backs are turned to us laughing. Lynn kids deserve more, and they deserve an outlet to express themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you both.
Hello, my name is David Bramwell. I live on 3 Roseville Square, Lynn, Massachusetts. And just like my fellow friends have said, I just want to go off based off like extracurriculars. Some things I wrote here was I go to Lynn English High School. I'm a senior as well. Some things I wrote down were limited availability for extracurriculars, meaning there are fewer options for students to explore interests in outside of academics. There's a lack of awareness and promotion. After-school programs and clubs are not well advertised, making it difficult for students to join. Even just for students to know about it, it's like you gotta hustle just to look for it. Another thing is difficulty finding clubs. Students must actively seek out information about clubs instead of having clear guidance. Insufficient funding. Many extracurriculars lack financial support, leading to a limited resource, outdated equipment, and fewer opportunities. Low student engagement. Due to the lack of promotion and funding, many students are unaware or unable to even participate in the activities. Missed opportunities for growth. Extracurriculars help students develop leadership, teamwork, and creativity, yet many students are missing out and they don't even know about it as well. I think some things that we could work on is better communication and announcements. Regularly announce club meetings and events through school newspaper, PA systems, and social media. Dedicated extracurriculars fair host an event where students can learn about all clubs and sign up in one place. Increase funding and support, and with better budgeting for extracurriculars, ensuring that we have necessary resources to thrive. More club variety, expand club and offerings to indicate diverse interests such as STEM, art, debate, and career-focused programs. My last statement is stronger outreach efforts, encourage teachers and staff to promote extracurriculars and make it easier for students to join.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alejandro. I go to LVTI, and I just wanted to share my experience doing like outdoor track. And first off, about like joining clubs and all that, we're very blessed because at the start of the year, our guidance counselors tell us, and like talking to other members of Neighbor to Neighbor, we know that like these other students don't have this experience, and it's very tough hearing like their experience on it. And now I want to get into my experience as a track member. It's very embarrassing going into a meet and just like your mind it's just very, very embarrassing first off, and it's even more when you hear stories of your friends having to wear a women's jersey on because we don't have enough members. We don't have enough jerseys for our team. There's over 100 members in our team, and we don't even have enough jerseys so like that we all look like look the same and like formal. And it's just very demoralizing and nerve-wracking when you get on the stage and all those hours of hard work are put to the test and like you don't even look formal while we're doing it, and just very hard. And also for like the equipment, I do field competitions and we only have like 3 shot puts and we have to go turn by turn, and for other teams they can go out like in 20 minutes and do like 50, but for us it takes like 2 times as long or like 3 times as long because we have like 9 kids, only like 3 balls, 3 shot puts. So it's just very tough training with that pressure and with the really poor equipment, and that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Belloso Gonzalez, and I live on 784 Boston Street. And I am a freshman here at LVTI, and I just wanted to kind of converse with you guys to share what my experience has been with extracurriculars here at Lynn Tech. So, I'm a very lucky person as I participate in this extracurricular where we have to fight tooth and nail to be able to get the funding that we need. Our advisor does a great job of making sure that we always have the money and that we need to be able to flourish and success. And we also fundraise we fundraise a crazy amount. And personally, I think there is some beauty in this, but it shouldn't have to be that way, at least for sports. That time that is spent working and fundraising the money just to be able to have a chance to win at any of the competitions should be spent practicing instead. Also, I think that the impact that extracurriculars can have on a person are also just unimaginable. Personally, previously to participating in this extracurricular, I often struggled with many things at school. It took me upwards to 30 minutes just to get out of bed. But now with this extracurricular, I've kind of found the passion to be able to get up before my alarm even rings. I pay attention at school now with no a reason. I in a way it ignited the passion within me to be able to properly pay attention at school. And if you want that to happen in other kids, I highly recommend that you pay more attention and more money when it comes to extracurriculars. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yari Patricio, and I live at 15 Kings Hill Drive. Hello, my name is Yari Patricio, and I'm a 9th grade at Lynn English High School. I am here with Neighbor to Neighbor, the youth team program, to talk about issues at my school, Lynn English. I would like to talk about the funding for our extracurriculars, which includes volleyball. And I recently joined volleyball this year as a 9th grader, JV2. And as soon as I first came into volleyball, I've seen many things. I seen how our gym doesn't have proper air conditioning. As soon as I stepped into the gym, my mood would instantly I was happy, and then I was very sad because I would see other gyms have from different schools have air conditioning, and the lighting will be perfect, and the school uniforms, the team's uniforms will be up to par, amazing. And now I'll look at our uniforms and I have stains, and it will be either too small or too big, and it wasn't just it wasn't enough. I would also see how it would make me upset to see how our neighbors from Peabody, Salem have all of these things that our school and Lynn are not being provided with. And I think it's extremely unfair how Lynn is not getting the proper funding for sports, which I feel like is very important. I've also been in clubs this year as student office, as president, and I've seen how my class advisors had to, pay a lot of stuff with their own money. I'm also part of yearbook club, and to fundraise money, we have our class I don't know if it's advisor, but the teacher, he gives us slips, and we have to get enough money to even start off doing the yearbooks. And I see other schools in Saugus, and they don't have to do that. They get that all funded for their school, and they don't have to worry about if they're getting enough money to provide yearbooks to the students. These are the many reasons why I believe that the school budget should be located to sports and activities. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Miguel Perez Rosado, and I am a 9th grader at Lynn English High School. I'm here with the Neighbor to Neighbor U team to talk about the issues in our school. The issue that I would like to talk about is the funding for our school's extracurriculars. For example, in yearbook club, the teacher usually gives us students papers to go to companies and ask for sponsors. He does this because the school is not being funded enough to help buy the supplies that we need for the yearbook club to make the yearbooks. We even had to do this just to gather money to print out the test copy. I feel as though this should not be happening, and students should not be expected and asked regularly to ask companies for funds. Schools should be funded properly so that clubs can also thrive, since they are important. The yearbook club is an especially important club because it gathers many memories and puts them into a book so that they are never forgotten. But if the school's extracurriculars are not being funded regularly, then the clubs will not be able to run properly. And in this case, it would mean that many seniors will not be able to have the book that highlights 4 years of their life. This is another one of the many reasons why we need to make sure that there is a part of the school budget that is dedicated to allowing clubs to function properly. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Manuel Gonzalez. I live at 67 Howard Street, and I'm a senior at Lynn English High School. And I would just like to provide myself as another voice to push for the extracurricular, what we're fighting for. I was briefly in environmental club. I helped it with Danya here to get it up and started during my sophomore year of high school. And while it was being made and while it's currently running, throughout that entirety, it has suffered nothing besides lack of funding, lack of support, and evidently everything that has been done within that club has been purely done solely on its own through the students that have been in there and the teacher that has been advising it this entire time. And I also did volleyball last year, and the equipment has also been extremely subpar. The jerseys for both varsity and JV were exactly the same. We weren't provided anything of difference, and while other schools were, and it was very evident that they were. And other than that, I have not personally participated in many other extracurriculars. I do spend most of my time working, but I do communicate and interact with a lot of people within the Lynn Public Schools area, as my job is fairly close to the school, and I do personally get to see a lot of the stresses and kind of emotional concerns that a lot of the students within the schools have about these clubs and extracurriculars. And they usually, as passionate as they are about them, they do always have something that either concerns them, disencourages them, and puts them down, when it's something that should be lifting them up, providing them with a space to be more passionate, more courageous, and overall just enjoyed to be in a school environment and doing something that they overall enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dania De La Cruz. I am a senior at Lynn English High School. It's a trend you're going to see a lot. But my journey as a high schooler, I recall it starting freshman year of high school. I had no idea about clubs. There wasn't a club fair in which I can engage with leaders of different groups in our school. I wasn't aware. My only constant was orchestra, which I have been a part of since 4th grade. Orchestra is an all-city group. We play as a whole, and even in that group, we had to struggle to create funding, canning outside in the cold, or begging people to buy our cookies, or buy our chocolates, or buy our bundt cakes in order to scrap money for our students. That's a constant that we see in every single club. I'm also a part of student council, and it's the same thing. In order to create money that goes back to our students, we have to sacrifice time and effort and participation that we honestly don't see. And it also goes back to clubs. I mean, I have friends in the science team who have to compete in other cities and have to scrap their own materials, or have teachers pay for materials out of pockets in order to meet the requirements for the team. And when they show up to these meets, what do they meet? They meet other schools that have technology. They have iPads. They have all these tech savvy equipment, and they have whatever their teacher can provide them. We're seeing a really big difference between our schools, and I think it's only fair that the way that our funding is created gets reformatted, or in a way that is more beneficial for our students. You know, it shouldn't, the burden shouldn't fall on our students to have equitable groups. It shouldn't fall on our students the duty to and responsibility to create money out of thin air, you know? That's what we're asking today, and we really do hope that you consider and listen to our pleas.
Hello, my name is Charlie Clark. I live on 487 Eastern Avenue. I went for most of high school in out-of-district placement at a therapeutic residential school, but in 2018 I received my diploma from Lynn English High School. Prior to that, I was a student at Fecht O'Leary, junior and senior high school. I've experienced firsthand, like, being in Lynn Public Schools and other districts and talking to kids at other districts in classrooms with kids from much wealthier districts and other similar, kids with more similar backgrounds. The disparity is so clearly felt. And I think, as you've heard tonight, it's felt not in the ability of our students, not in the potential of our students, but in how they feel and carry themselves, or how we carry ourselves going out into the world. I also just think it's worth being said that extracurriculars, despite the name, are not secondary to a well-rounded education, but they're an essential component of a well-rounded education that produces well-rounded citizens. Yeah, I think, lastly, I want to say we hear a lot about we need to invest in our youth, as if there's some sort of future stock, the youth of the future. But as you've seen here tonight, they're here, they're the present. So I asked that this proposal that we've written up, that they've put in time, a lot of time into, and a lot of them dealing with college applications or starting the high school process, the same weight and consideration as you would any proposal made by older folks, and commit to continuing this conversation with our youth leaders, with Neighbor to Neighbor in general, as we work together to overcome creatively the budgetary constraints to improve the conditions and experiences of Lynn youth. Because, yeah, we're here tonight, and we're not going anywhere. So thank you.
Hi, hi everyone. Thanks for having us tonight. My name is Gabe Cohen-Glinick. I'm an organizer with Neighbor to Neighbor. I'll be brief because I think they spoke it much better than I could. But I think the asks, the recommendations that we've put together are accomplishable. I don't think that's a real word, but they are able to be accomplished. They're not huge. We know that, like, ideally we could get all the technology and all the best equipment possible. That's what we want. Like, there's a huge problem with school funding across districts, like, as we've heard. But recognizing within that we can do better, and that this is something that is of deep central importance, not just to this group of students, but to so many of the students who they have talked to themselves through the surveys that they collected, that they created. This is not about Neighbor to Neighbor organizing as an organization. This is something that they developed on their own, and this is really real youth voice, and I think, like, this is what democracy should look like. So thank you for hearing us tonight, and we're really glad to meet with anybody here, with the committee members, some of whom we've already consulted with a little bit, to get a sense of whether our asks were on, sort of on base, and happy to meet with anyone here to discuss further how we can collaborate to make these things possible going forward with the budget process this year, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to speak at open mic? Yep.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yuri Sanchez-Rio, and I am a Lynn organizer for Neighbor to Neighbor, but overall, I am a parent and a long-time Lynn resident since I was the age of 8. I went through elementary, junior high school, and high school, so I've seen a lot of what the kids are talking. My nephew, Wendell, goes to Lynn Classical, where I graduated. I can speak firsthand in regards to the disparities that they have suffered through and the embarrassment they have gone through wearing 3 or 4 different color jerseys in a football game, different color pants in a football game, green or yellow, and not, yeah, they're the Lynn Classical, green and gold, but they shouldn't have to mix and match. They should be able to be cohesive. They should be able to feel proud. They shouldn't be bullied as they go to the bus and they feel defeated. They shouldn't have to feel that their image is what they should focus on instead of the game. They are worried in regards to the preconceived idea that the other teams, half of them, and how they are portrayed after the games and how they lose doesn't define them. They are losing because most of the time they hear the disadvantages right there in the game, like in the field. They are not waiting later on in social media to hear it. They're being laughed at. They're being told, look at them. And we as spectators, right, we're in the bleachers sitting, watching them. But we're all parents, we're all their aunties, and hearing this, I can see why less and less kids are joining the sports team. I have been to every single game of my nephew, every single one. I just had another nephew join soccer team for Lynn Classical as a freshman. And the disadvantages of having to play anywhere because they don't have a field to play in, having to, wait for a loaner. Everybody's indoors, they're outdoors. Yeah, football can be played at any type of weather, but it's really disheartening that they don't have an option and that every other team has an option. My nephew has played in a lot of different teams. He had to go to Revere to be able to play in a team that was giving him a new helmet and equipment without him having to pay for it. He's been canning. He's been doing all this. He wants to work. How is he going to work, do the canning, do extremely well in school doing AP classes, and still be at practice for hours and hours end? There has to be a little bit more consideration towards what they're going through, because that we went through it. It's not that we didn't go through it, but kids behind are also going to go through it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else for open mic? Anyone else speaking in open mic? Last call for open mic. And we will close the open mic portion of the evening. Thank you so much for everyone that spoke and shared the proposal. We really appreciate the input and certainly look forward to working on these issues. So thank you. I will now call to order the first regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos? Absent. Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Pena?
Present.
Member Reed?
Present.
Member Satterwhite? Absent. Mayor Nicholson?
Present. If everyone who is able could please rise for a salute to the flag and remain standing for a moment of silence. Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of Linda Rosendahl, a retired teacher and librarian who passed away December 28th, 2024. Thank you. Next item is the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes from the Building and Grounds Subcommittee on January 9th, 2025, the Curriculum Subcommittee meeting on January 9th, 2025, the first regular meeting on January 9th, 2025, and the Committee of the Whole meeting on January 23rd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is appointments.
This evening, we want to share that Kathy Aiello is the Interim Executive Director of Data Assessment and Accountability, while Dr. Shorter is on parental leave. And thank you, Kathy, for agreeing to step in and take over.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is presentations. First one we have is social emotional learning, MTSS, and clinical caseloads. Okay. What? No, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. She's just setting up, so.
I make a motion to move new business items A, B, and C to the next item on the agenda.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. What's the? Okay, yeah. What's the recommendation of the administration?
Dr. Alvarez highly recommends the field trip request to be approved for classical baseball team to go to Stamford, Connecticut for an interstate competition from March 28th through March 30th.
Make a motion to approve the request for the classical baseball team trip to Stamford, Connecticut.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Good luck.
Watch Coach Elwell.
Stayed late.
Renewal of lease agreements with the food project for garden space at Ingalls and LBTI.
Still move?
Sorry, earlier. Oh.
Yep. Sure. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Hi, my name is Adeso. I'm the Associate Director for the Food Project. So I'm just here to represent what we do. So at LBTI, most of that garden space, or farm space as we like to call it, is for community gardeners. So it is a direct way for residents to grow their own food and be sufficient in that way. And the Ingalls Farm, we have about 4 community gardeners, but the rest of the land, which is about an acre, is land that we directly farm on. And a lot of that food goes directly to the farmers market, which is now located at the Commons, and other hunger relief organizations like My Brother's Table. We often stock the Lynn community fridge, and we do a lot of our youth programming and community programming on those spaces. So if we have any questions about the work that we do, I'm here to answer.
Any questions?
Motion to renew the lease.
Superintendent.
What's that?
Motion to renew the lease.
Second.
Food project.
Is there any thoughts from the administration you want to share?
What I would just say is I know how popular those gardens are. Ingalls has been there a long time, and it has really produced a great deal of produce. The students as well get access to working with the food project on that garden. I do have a question. LVTI, do the students at LVTI help with that garden at all?
The students didn't. Are you asking in terms of like the actual building of the farm?
Like the planting, the helping to maintain it?
Not really, because a lot of that does go to community gardeners. So there's an expectation that they're the ones that are upholding their plots and cleaning up. And we host like garden days to do that work.
As a person who loves gardens and has a garden in my own home, every time I drive by those gardens, it makes me smile. So I highly recommend it.
Terrific. All right. Motion made, seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos, absent. Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite, absent. Mayor Nicholson?
Mayor Nicholson.
Yes. And then the vote to cancel the March 13th, 2025 meeting.
I make a motion to cancel the March 13, 2025 meeting for the Friendly Nights.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Brings us back to social and emotional learning. We have the hard copies, I believe.
Yeah, we do.
Unless you want to take more time, we can do something else. But I feel like
Do the ratification of the vote.
Yeah, we can do the ratification.
sure. Okay. Is there a motion to
Thank you,
amend?
Josh, for trying to help.
So motion to amend the agenda to move new business D and E to current.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Is there any votes taken in the curriculum subcommittee meeting?
Yes, there were. So we took a committee to vote for a health program sponsored by Girls Inc., and it will be good for grades 4 and 5.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos, absent. Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite, absent. Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Any other votes in curriculum or
Nope, that was it for curriculum.
okay?
Policy.
Policy.
And then, yeah, so on to policy. We had 2 policies that we voted to amend and put to the full committee. The first was IKF, the graduation requirement policy, so the motion was put to the full committee.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos, absent. Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite, absent. Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
And the second policy that was discussed, and put forward was policy JJICA, which is the athletic eligibility high school transfer policy. So that was a motion to put to the full committee as well.
Second.
Roll call.
Member Castellanos, absent. Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite, absent. Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
That was that.
Great. Great work, everyone.
Right back to social.
Now,
Third time's a charm.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. Nothing relaxes your nerves like messing up with the technology. So thank you all for welcoming me tonight. I'm Tina Hoofnagel, Executive Director of Social Emotional Learning, for those that may not know me. And I'm here to present just a look at SEL as we're in our third year, second year full implementation of the new model of providing support to students under the SEL department. And I want to focus on the MTSS work we do and take a look at the service delivery caseloads. So thank you so much. As we begin just the overall presentation, we're going to just ground ourselves in what the SEL definition is out of Castle, and also the work we do. We'll then take a look at student support. We'll take a look at data to help tell our story about the work and the impact. And then I will take a just quick peek at the professional development that we've been doing to further increase our clinical skill set to support the amazing students that we get to service in the district, and then some of the district collaborations for some of the top work groups that we've been working on. So SEL, my goodness. How we define it in the district is we ground ourselves in the Castle definition, and you have it there. I won't take the time to read it because I hope you did, but it pulls out elements of the importance of relationship, about having rigorous curriculum, meaningful curriculum, ongoing collaboration and evaluation, and that SEL can help address various forms of inequity and empower young people and adults to co-create thriving schools, to have safe and healthy and just communities. And in Lynn specifically, just a couple points. Our SEL department works to bring forward vision and practices, pre-K to 12th grade, and also the behavior and mental health services. And both of these things, all of these things working together to increase our sense of belonging. Data tells just a part of our student support story and so important. And so we're going to take a look at these various data points as we get in. But I have to lay before you that we in our district, in the SEL department, we have a challenge of practice. We're a young department, relatively speaking, and we are still developing best practices and systems for capturing our work. As you all know, data is essential for understanding impact and need. In SEL, best practice would be to document our interventions in terms of the frequency of a problem, the intensity of a problem, and the duration, the length of time. And currently, we really only have documentation tools that account for frequency within Power Schools. Our hope for the future is that we would be able to develop, purchase a education technology platform that would focus on MTSS data, and we've looked at 4, and we hope to be able to have a conversation during our budget presentation around securing Branch and Mines, because it's imperative that we're able to capture fully the work that we're doing to look at interventions and how it's having impact in the school and on the individual students. So moving ahead, I'm trusting that you all have a sense of the multi-tiered system of support, how it's designed to support students, that it's a framework that helps schools provide students with the supports they need to succeed. And so I'm pointing you to the Tier 1 model, and in our Tier 1, our practices are trauma-informed school practices. We do push-in SEL lessons going into the classroom. We support the teachers giving the Caring Schools community lessons, our SEL curriculum. We support positive behavioral interventions, PBIS. We have PBIS operating in about 10 of the elementary schools and a few of the high schools. We also are part of a core member of the school team that works with the Attendance and Wellness Initiative, looking at data, and then doing outreach. We're involved in restorative practices. That's another Tier 1 level intervention. And we're excited that we've been able to, we've been piggybacking and partnering with our guidance folks in our nursing department to provide, when they do the SBIRT screening, the substance misuse screening, we've been able to bring in a mental health universal screening. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And all of our tier work is grounded in our model of providing student access to one full-time clinician for every 250 students. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what does trauma-informed school practices look like. I see Mrs. Gately is going to get upset. I left out a word, apologies. What school practices look like.
This isn't a policy.
Oh, okay. All right. So I could mess up, right? All right.
Yep.
So it's important. The building and admin and the clinical team, we do readiness walks to ensure that there's practices and presence of calming corners, welcoming rituals, SEL practices for belonging throughout the school. We have clinical voice and advocacy regarding discipline practices in collaboration with building leadership, particularly around restorative practices. We engage in emergency behavioral health drills in partnership with keeping the schools safe. And we provide a lot of teacher coaching and modeling around de-escalation with students having some behavioral struggles. We work to support behavioral change within the classroom. And we really try to get ahead of difficult communication with parents with our practices of informing parents when we have to file a 51A if there's been allegations of abuse or neglect. Those are some of the Tier 1 trauma-informed practices. I spoke a little bit about screeners. I won't say too much about that other than we are in the process of doing the screeners. So we've completed Lynn English High and Classical. We screened 371 10th graders and then 313 10th graders in Classical. And our data show that nearly 1 in 5 at both schools scored at moderate to severe risk for anxiety or depression. This is important information for us to have, and it's important for us to expand our screeners as it will help us to identify and then intervene with students that are struggling. So we want to grow in our universal screening program. There's a notation about, I'm sorry, I didn't advance it. Forgive me. So just I mentioned about pushing SEL lessons. I really want to make note that it's very common that we're invited into the classroom and we talk about lessons such as respecting personal space, kindness, bullying, values, feelings, identification, and many more topics. And at the secondary level, we are invited in to partner around the advisory program. And there's many topics ranging from relationships, communication, conflict resolution. And at our tier 2 level, we have the work we do. So when we have strong academic tier 1 and social emotional tier 1, it's able to hold most of our students. And then at the tier 2 level, kids that need more, we work with students with one-to-one meetings on their goals and their concerns. We do social skills groups. We do check-in, check-out. That's a PBIS practice where kids that need just a little bit more can check in with a clinician at the beginning of the school day and at the end of the school day, and it really holds them and supports them. And again, mentioning the wellness work that we've done. So I want you to understand, I did mention that we have a challenge, an imperfect data collection process, but we work capture data at the Tier 2 level using team reports of student participation in voluntary counseling in individual groups in check-in, check-out. We have IEP 504 compliance data and our Power School logged clinical notes data. And you can see this is our secondary student support visits. The orange line is from last year, and the blue line is from this year. We have the number of interventions that have been logged in Power Schools. And you can see, now this is a snapshot from September to late December. And the work that we capture is the non-IEP counseling sessions, any de-escalation of behavioral responses we need to give, when we meet with families or students about resources that they might need, and our community referrals. So this captures, we have been seeing a significant increase. Our data projections showed that there was a 31% increase from last year in our clinical log notes. But remember, that's just capturing a number, a student. It's not capturing the length of time that it takes to work with that student. And then you have a look here at the elementary support visits. I wanted to bring forward the Tier 2 level work that we do. This is at the elementary level. We have students in groups. It's very hard to see on the overhead, but 423 students total are involved in our groups. 306 students involved in individual support. This would be like a 15-minute planned meeting to talk with a student and providing support that they need around a particular issue. And it's with parent permission, obviously. And then we also have our check-in, check-out. That's what the CICO means at the top, CICO, check-in, check-out. And there's 92 kids participating in that at the elementary level. At the secondary level, at Tier 2, we have our middle schools and our high schools. We have 232 kids in groups, 530 receiving individual support, and check-in, check-out 40. A little bit more data around our elementary students receiving IEP and 504 counseling. Remember, this is compliance work. Students that get brought forward through the IEP assessment process, and they have been determined to have some sort of a emotional disability, and they require counseling. And so we have, at the elementary level, 403 students on IEPs for counseling, 47 students on 504s, totaling 450. And then you see at our secondary level, obviously the numbers increase, and we have 776 students on IEPs, 92 students on 504s, and total students 828. I want to bring forward, part of our Tier 2 work has been to be a strong participant at the school group, school-based groups, to have a response to the chronic absenteeism that we're struggling with in our district. So we meet together with the supervisor of attendance that's assigned to the schools, and we look at the data, and then the students are highlighted that needs outreach, and the expectation and the intent is to have a conversation with the families to explore what are the barriers, how can we be helpful, what's going on, how can we help you get your son or daughter, child into school. Tell us a little bit more so we can kind of solve the barriers. So we're trying to take a very targeted approach for that. And our parent outreach is captured in Power Schools. And then our Tier 3, these are our students that have been determined that they have the highest need. And so we kind of go back and forth because we're looking at, in the old way of thinking and in many districts, IEP and 504 would be considered tier 3. And yes, they do get an extra level of consistent support, but they're oftentimes quite stable and could be almost seen as maybe a tier 2 level. So they kind of rest in both spots, but we have students that have incredible behavioral dysregulation sometimes, and so we provide a lot of behavior support. We have students that are in need of looking at increased services, and that happens through the Behavior Intervention Action Plan, the BEOP referral process. And we also provide a lot of crisis response, at the school level, but also district-wide when we have difficult events that come forward, traumatic events such as a loss of life. We are able to mobilize the clinical team and provide support to the school, to faculty as well as students, and we consider that all of our, a lot of our tier 3 level work. So just the importance, I won't take a lot of time to read through the BEOP process, but it's really it's a very systematic process for looking for finding the appropriate therapeutic placement for our most vulnerable students. And we're talking about internally, the different programs that we have internally in Lynn. These are kiddos that have acute social emotional impairments. We go through a review of observations and intervention supports to assess each student. Where we are at right now, it's just a little snapshot. We have 60 students going through the BEOP process at elementary level and 29 at secondary. And these students are our most acute students, and they're often needing support multiple times a day and regularly for hours at a time. And that's where we would like to be able to capture the intensity and provide that data as we go through these evaluation processes. The SEL team, primarily at the elementary middle level, we're tasked with responding to severe behavioral outbursts. And we help and assist with that, and we provide PD to the faculty on de-escalation. We run a de-escalation PD so that our staff, our teachers, are able to pick up on triggers that might be happening and be able to de-escalate within the classroom. So we're pleased to do that work. We do it ourselves, but we also want to teach our faculty. And so far, this school year, we have 163 SEL responses to severe behavioral incidents. The SEL department captures some safety data, and I wanted you to see, again, the orange is last year, the blue is this year, and we are bringing forward that our abuse and neglect, those are the 51A filings, they're running about the same. Homicidal ideation, the same. Psychosis is up a bit. Self-harm, sadly, is up a bit. And suicidal ideation, that's when students have been thinking about wanting to harm themselves. And so we've been responding and providing support and screenings for those students. I wanted to bring in McKinney-Vento because I've been at the school committee a couple times in my role, and I haven't thought to bring forward McKinney-Vento. And it's so important that we understand and take a look at our students that are impacted by homelessness. That's a significant population. You see that there's a lot of, there's a lot of growth and increase of students being impacted by homelessness. It's increased. And I was taking a look at a look back for 10 years, and we used to be in like the 600 range 10 years ago, and now we're at 1,779 students homeless. You can well imagine the impact of that on their coming into the classroom and being prepared. And the McKinney-Vento federal legislation is to help ensure that they do not have missed opportunities. So we have a staff person, Anna Luz Adamus, that works with our McKinney-Vento folks and our students that are in foster care from DCF. I just want you to know that I've mentioned this before when I've been here, we have a wonderful 5-year grant, a SAMHSA grant on trauma, and it's through the Alliance for Inclusive and Prevention. And we're really happy that they've been partnering with us, and we've been getting really robust and evidence-based trainings. So these are the trainings to date for this year. And just lastly, to just take a peek that SEL is always at the table. We're welcome to the table. It's important for us to be at the table. And we've been, we were involved with DEI and DAT to bring forward the school climate and culture survey. We're part of the district strategic plan. We've been involved in the restorative practices initiative. And I mentioned already the pilot project with the screenings. And currently there's a multiple departments working on an MTSS handbook work group with a consultant from Branching Minds to help us get that system in order. And just lastly, there's a picture of, I collect heart rocks. Do you guys know what heart rocks are? Beach stones that get tumbled and shaped by hearts. And I've moved into kind of collecting those, and this is just a little sample. And it's just, a way of saying thank you to you all. This work can't go on, this support for students and families can't go on without your support. And I thank DAT for their help with the data. And I thank you all. And this presentation was crafted by myself and Erin Heenan and Virginia Lee, my 2 assistant directors.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Member Dugan.
Thank you, Tina, for the presentation.
Sure.
Very, very thorough, and I do appreciate it. Just had a couple questions, and I know I've asked about this before with our PBIS model. So you mentioned it's in 10 elementary schools right now?
Yes.
Is there a plan to, because obviously the data shows that that is an effective
Yes.
Behavioral method to deal with some of our tricky kids. Is there a plan moving forward to get that implemented into the other schools, or?
Well, we have
I guess what the
yeah.
holdback, is it budget, is it buy-in, like?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily buy-in, but we have had some budget challenges.
Okay.
But we have 4 schools right now that are part of the Social Emotional Behavioral Academy that DESE brought forward, and it's a DESE-funded couple-year opportunity to bring 4 additional elementary schools into the PBIS process. So that's in play. But expanding to all, ooh, gosh, I don't do well with the mic, sorry. Keep my hands down. We have more interest at the elementary level.
Yeah.
And we do have, 19 elementaries, so it would be great to bring it forward. But it is expensive, some of these amazing practices, so.
And then
But we did get 4 new schools in through that academy, and we'll always, as long as they have the funding, we'll always be able to apply and get into that academy.
Awesome, thank you. And then my final question is just about the push-in for the SEL time with our elementary schools. So how often does that happen? And our teachers, our educators, obviously are part of that, and what's their role when something like that happens?
So push-in is when the teacher's kind of been assessing that there might be a little bit of a need going on. They've noticed that kids haven't been really respecting each other's space. They haven't really been, kind to their peers, and so they'll often invite a clinician in to do a little mini lesson on, boundaries and respect and how we can be, good friends with one another. I'm thinking mostly at the elementary level. So, and we can build on also some of the work that goes on with the Caring Schools community. We're invited in. When I say push in, we're pushing into the work of the kids. We're not pushing in. We're invited.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. So it's more of a kind of as needs.
Sure, yes, but it is something that is, very present and very much what we're able to do.
And so when the clinicians go in, is there a curriculum that they're following? Because you mentioned a mini lesson, so, or is it just kind of, you need help, your class needs help with,
Right, and so they would
whatever,
probably, they start with like what might be a lesson within Caring Schools and then amplifying and supplementing it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? Yep, Member Gately.
Hi, Tina.
Hello.
I went through this and I have some questions because it's like I don't know how many social workers we have here in Lynn.
Okay.
So how many do we have staffed here now?
Yeah, we have 27 clinical supervisors. Those are the members of the LSAA. There are administrators.
Okay.
We have 68 clinicians.
Yeah, that makes sense.
2 are grant funded through the Bright program. And we have 2 frozen positions per budget. So there are 95 staff in total and 3 district administrators.
Okay. So when a social worker comes in, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What is the onboarding like and what's the training that you give them before they go into schools?
Okay. The onboarding they get is working alongside and under the clinical supervisor in the school. So they come with the DESE certification if they have it. If we have to hire on a waiver, they have a master's level degree in either social work or a comparable program. And they work with the clinical supervisor, learning the processes for documentation, getting to know the students, getting to know the building, but that's the onboarding process. It's shadowing, partnering, learning. But we try very much to, we really look for experienced people that have done, if you come through a master's program, you're doing clinical internships. So you've had 1 or 2 years of either previous schoolwork, being in a school as a clinician, or some other mental health field. So they're not green as far as how to build relationships and how to work with kids and how to bring forward.
But they need to understand the school system.
Oh,
and how it
absolutely.
works.
In
So
a
that-
school world is a different world.
It is a little different.
Yeah.
And so how...
And it's fast paced.
And I'm curious of how you're tracking the student data. Like, how many social workers, how many students do they see per week? I learned this new jargon, pardon me. My son is now a mental health counselor, so I know that he documents every single client he has, and he writes down. So we should be able to get that data, don't you think? If they are documenting how many students, so we'll know how many students the social worker has seen or treated throughout the year. So you would have a number, and that's data. That's what I'm looking for.
Right. So I did not prepare per individual social worker, clinician, their caseload data, and I can certainly get that to you all. Per school, I did it more broadly, the schools, but we hold every student that we see gets logged in clinical notes on Power Schools. So that's one place we log. Then we have data forms, Excel sheets on our Ed Plan. It's now Ed Plan for our compliance cases. And we log safety data. But when I had shared about we have imperfect systems, most schools have one place similar to what the nurses have for logging in clinical visits. We want to move toward that in the SEL world as well. So we're looking to bring forward a proposal to get a technology platform that is sufficient for SEL.
Okay, and this is sort of like personal, but I have a friend that had a child that was seeing a social worker in elementary school, but then got into secondary, but the ball was dropped. So are you worried that students may go without follow-up support?
We have a system that when the fifth graders, we have a transfer form, and so everyone is supposed to fill out the transfer form, talk with the student, are you wanting support, get clarification from the family, and that document gets sent, and they have, transfer meetings with the next step up. So from fifth grade to sixth grade, from eighth grade to the ninth grade.
Well, it didn't happen. It
Yeah, and
fell
I'm
through the
sorry to hear
cracks.
that. Is this child still in school, or?
Not sure.
Okay, but that's certainly, I would.
So maybe tracking them a little closer would be better, because when we have
course.
no way to document stuff, it's not there to see, we can't tell. Anyways,
Well,
thank you.
the team knows who, the team knows who they're seeing, and I don't know why in this situation the warm handoff didn't happen, but
It didn't happen.
sorry to hear that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
the
it.
opportunity.
All right, thank you. Next was the district writing plan.
Sure.
I'm just gonna hook in.
Yep.
Can we take pictures?
Wait, before you leave, I want to thank our student representative, Valeria Mendez of Lynn English High School, and wish her luck. Tonight is her last meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, and good luck with everything in the future. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Recess. So we're not gonna see it. Well, it's weird because there are places
Chilly.
Power School.
Yeah, I'm just gonna we'll just refer to this. I'm not gonna. Stretch time. I still don't feel well.
Yeah, she was starting to feel like she was getting a fever. Yeah.
Does it matter? Okay. Good evening.
Good
evening.
All right. So, happy to be here to present. I am Patricia Hebert's understudy this evening. So I have a really long presentation at the end of the evening for you all. I know that you're really excited about that. Actually, you're going to get ready. We're going to flip through some different slides. But I am really happy to present the writing plan. So Molly Cohen, Deputy Superintendent, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present on Ms. Hebert's behalf. Writing is an imperative skill that contributes to overall success in all content areas, and it opens doors for different career pathways. Building and district leaders, along with teachers, have elevated the need for a district-wide structured writing plan. Although this presentation is as robust as writing is across all the contents, for the sake of time, I will highlight key slides that capture the major components of the plan. You all have full access to the presentation, and we will be posting this presentation on the Curriculum Hub on the website. We are in the initial stages of developing a plan to lift our current practices of integrating writing across all content areas and grade levels. This plan aims to showcase the effective strategies already in place and explore how to enhance those efforts district-wide. The upcoming slides will present our data, which demonstrates the critical need to focus on enhancing our writing instruction across the district. First, I just want to highlight the anchor standards for writing that are incorporated in MCAS, which is, you know, as we discussed this evening, the summative tool for testing our skills across grades 3 through 10. And how all of these strands are also in all of the content areas. So students are writing everywhere in content, and they exist all around the content. But what we're doing with the writing plan is actually elevating a through line of how to progress monitor students' writing. So that's the most important part of this plan. This MCAS data is pulled right off of the DESE profiles, and you'll see quite a discrepancy or a difference between how Lynn performs and how the state performs. And so, as you can notice, we're in the red across all of our different grade levels. The two biggest components that we'd like to focus on is idea development and conventions. So these are the grade 3, 4, 5, and then this slide is 6 through 10. So how do we begin pulling together all of the writing standards that are across all the content? We start with a vision and a mission. So I would like to note that what we're really doing is elevating how we teach the process of writing. As teachers, we tend to focus on the summative published work, but the formative learning that is developmentally appropriate from pre-K to 12 is where the real learning and internalization of the skills happens. We are lifting here how writing is purposeful and intentional for different topics, audiences, and purposes. So we endeavor to cultivate lifelong writers, and our mission is to ensure that we have a balanced writing plan that promotes creativity, critical thinking, and clear communication. Those are both connected to the portrait of a graduate and the different components of that. So our guiding principles, and the next slide is our goals, that's how we broke down the creation of this plan. I'm not going to read all of those, but what I do really want to lift is that writing is developmental in process. So at each grade level, it needs to be appropriate, and it needs to be appropriate to the content as well. So those principles you will see in all of the different contents of varied writing, the process-driven writing instruction that's integrated, and just the social justice aspect of all students deserve access to high quality standards-based writing instruction. And then our goals as well are designed not only to enhance students' ability to express ideas clearly and effectively, but also to use writing as a powerful tool for learning and communication across various disciplines. So producing, writing routinely, writing to learn, developing coherence, and adapting communication. One that we've been speaking a lot about in this planning team is the writing to learn. I think we often think of writing as being the summation of the learning, but really writing is part of the learning process. So journaling, jotting down your thoughts. I mean, many of you, I'm watching Member Gately is writing all over her presentations, right? So this is how we learn through writing. It's different than just creating published versions of writing. And then, you know, it's the integration of just the Massachusetts curriculum framework and how it's incorporated throughout all the contents. Okay, so writing in all content areas is literally everywhere, right? It's a strand that's everywhere, including vocation. I think on this slide I also included dual language, even though that's not a content per se, it's a program. And they have 3 very specific writing spots throughout their year to progress monitor writing both in English and in Spanish. We're going to fast forward through all of the specific examples of English, social studies, math, just in the interest of time. But in the presentation, each of the assistant directors of their content, they contributed and lifted up some of the major components of writing that supports their programs in elementary, middle school, and high school. But for this evening, we're just going to focus on the new expectations for writing across the content areas. So here, where we say we're setting a new expectation for the system for progress monitoring, this means that we're not creating additional writing. We're collaborating with members to determine where we're going to progress monitor the improvement of writing in the different content areas and across the different grade bands. So for example, our structured approach to writing across elementary and secondary include this progress monitoring. We will have focus groups led by curriculum assistant directors who will help to refine the different writing types and rubrics. What we really want to do is leverage what we already have in place. We have many buildings, both in elementary and in high school, who have already created writing plans and building-wide professional practice goals for their faculties. We also incorporated Keys to Literacy a couple of years ago with Lynn Classical, where the entire staff was doing a very programmatic writing across their school, and they saw gains in the areas where they focused. So what we're doing is bringing that model across the district. And then instructional strategies are obviously incredibly important when you're talking about distinguishing what students need and how we can support them. So our writing plan doesn't just cover the content integration, it also encompasses this comprehensive approach to these strategies. So here you see how intentionally planning with the MTSS model in providing the scaffolds and differentiated experience for all of our diverse learners will be part of that plan. And what we find, the finalization of this guiding document will fit into the MTSS guidebook that we're creating right now. And then just a reminder of some of the assessments that we have, both the formative assessments with journals and peer reviews, and then the summative assessments, which we're usually focus on lab reports, manuals, research papers. And then rubrics are going to be key in terms of being able to progress monitor the growth of our learners as writers, and also to calibrate. So we'll be using a student work template for calibrating how students are scoring on the rubrics. Okay. So to any plan, especially with any type of a change idea, you need to incorporate professional development. So by aligning our teaching methods and evaluation processes with ongoing professional development opportunities, we ensure our educators are well equipped to foster exceptional writing skills in our students. We're exploring a writing professional development for district leaders to use common language in supporting writing across all contents. So it breaks down to the district PLCs, where our assistant directors work with building and school leaders, and then they carry that to their school PLCs. In the district strategic plan, we're also drafting a full comprehensive professional development that incorporates priority area 1, which is strengthening the instructional model with culturally and linguistically responsive practices. Writing would fit right under that. And now the assistant directors are updating their curriculum maps to include these new writing expectations across the content. So the guide will provide teachers with the scaffolding techniques and comprehensive guidance for writing, and help teachers to manage writing assignments that ensure that they have the necessary tools to support their students. And then, as I've said several times, the progress monitoring of the writing development is the most important piece to this plan in terms of being able to gauge how effective the professional development is. And so I just want to speak clearly to this idea of the new writing expectation, that it's not about adding new writing assignments. It's about building a really comprehensive curriculum map where we're intentional and very specific to the content and where the writing assignment fits in specific contents. So for example, right now, math teams are focusing on the writing strategy of how to respond to an open response by stronger, clearer each time. So they're learning how to write it down an idea, build off that idea, and continue to revise that response until they get to a final response. So learning about the revision stage and editing stage in writing is really important for young people, so that they understand it's a process. Okay, and so I just want to pause for a minute and thank the members of the curriculum team and the MLE office for engaging in building this framework. And the next steps is we're going to be engaging focus groups in the district PLCs and the school PLCs, as well as the principal and director PLCs. So I look forward to expanding the collaboration on building the guidance. Any questions?
Go ahead. Member Gately.
All right, under professional development, there are two acronyms I'm not familiar with, TAG and TMTP.
Yep, TAG is the Targeted Assistance Grant. So we use this year, they're actually related. So TNTP is the New Teacher Project. They do a lot of research on effective instruction. Bless you. And we utilized TAG, this year, we utilized TAG funds to support the high schools with TNTP professional development and effective practices.
Okay, so now.
Bless you.
Differentiation instruction for MLEs, I found in my personal experience when they were trying to learn difficult concepts in biology, and I think it would help them with their writing, is not only graphic organizers, pictures. Tell them an awful lot of information, and if they just draw things, then they explain them in their language, and then they write them out. That's also another way that I didn't see in this presentation.
Yes, so I think for these examples of the differentiated instruction is around how to support the actual sentence and paragraph development. So pictures is a way of, for them to demonstrate their knowledge of like what the learning is in the classroom, but we do want to move them into the creation of word sentences and paragraphs.
Well, that's how
Yeah.
it works. Sometimes people learn differently, so I found a lot learned from the picture, and then they could explain it verbally and write it. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
backwards.
Sure.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Molly.
Thank you. All right, turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you. This is just the communication for the Power Schools breach that I want to make the entire LPS community aware of. We sent out communication to families and staff on January 24th, and it was also posted on the website, so that there's a special section on our website now that continues to have updated information on the events around the Power School breach. Power School is one of the largest software solutions for K-12, and every district must have a student information system. So they are our main provider for that software information, student information system. And they were made aware on December 28th that they had an incident where their system was breached. And so they made us aware on January 7th, and then consequently we made families and staff aware on the 9th after we consulted with counsel, who is not here this evening, Howard Greenspan, and has been handling the communication with their company and counsel. The data that was accessed varies depending on the files that they accessed, but there was student information, employee information that was accessed. However, I just want to remind everyone that social security numbers and financial information is not stored in Power Schools. What they have responded with is that they will be responsible for monitoring of personal information at the credit bureau level, and they also have a hotline where you can ask any questions that you wish. And all of this is listed on the 4-page document that we created and posted. And so we'll continue to provide any updates as necessary, but again, we have, Mr. Greenspan is continuing to follow up on the issue.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then lastly, this evening, the superintendent's report. And I want to just stress that as a school district committed to fostering a safe and welcoming environment for all students, we want to reaffirm our dedication to protecting the rights and well-being of every child in our care. In light of the immigration and customs enforcement actions across the country, we understand that some students and families may be experiencing anxiety or uncertainty. We want to assure you that our schools are places of learning, safety, and inclusion for all, regardless of immigration status. In 2017, the Lynn School Committee adopted safe and welcoming sanctuaries for all students, which remains in effect. The policy ensures that our schools serve as safe spaces for our students and that immigration status does not impact access to education. Our staff is committed to upholding this policy by prioritizing student safety, maintaining confidentiality, and following established protocols to support families who may be affected by immigration enforcement activities. There are also links to those policies in English and in Spanish in the document once it goes online. We also recognize the emotional toll that immigration-related concerns have on our students and their families. Our school clinicians and support staff are available to provide guidance, reassurance, and emotional support to any student in need. We encourage open communication and remind families that school staff members are here to listen and offer resources that can help navigate these challenges. The most powerful tool we can provide our students with is knowledge. Understanding their rights and having access to supportive networks is crucial during these difficult times. To further support our community, we are providing additional resources and guidance that may be helpful, including, and these were some that the internal team developed in the last 2 weeks, the Safe Schools Response Summary. It is linked in here. It is a public document. The LPS Immigrant Family Guidance, as well as some resources from Massachusetts Legal Help for Immigrants. These documents contain important information on legal rights, available services, and preemptive steps families can take to protect themselves. We stand together as a community to protect and support all students. As educators and community members, we'll continue to focus on the value of delivering powerful instruction to all students. The foundation of our student success is established when we provide them with access and opportunity to courses and enrichment. Up to 70 students with an interest in healthcare careers will have an opportunity to apply for a paid student internship provided by the Lynn Community Health Center. Orientation will occur this summer with the program officially beginning in September. This opportunity will increase to 120 students the following September. We're thankful for that partnership and collaboration. The Students Fellows will be exposed to careers in healthcare while working on a year-long project around hypertension that will include advocacy work, data collection, and community engagement. Our students are achieving across the curriculum and will be assessing their mid-year progress in February and March of this year. These assessment results will support appropriate scheduling for students for the 25-26 school year. The secondary schools have begun the process of subject selection. I encourage students and families to see the updated LPS Program of Studies, school year 25-26, on the Lynn Public Schools website, and it's also linked in here for you to access. We are proud to acknowledge that the fine arts teachers and programming are developing master musicians. The Lynn English High School seniors, Ethan Chalel and Ciara Bonilla, were awarded the Massachusetts Music Educator Association Excellence in Music Scholarship for Achievement and Leadership in Music. So congratulations, that's a huge honor. In athletics, we want to celebrate the 2 basketball players at Tech reaching a milestone. Engelise Bingham, a senior on the girls' basketball team, scored her 1,000th point following in the footsteps of her father, Corey Bingham, the Lynn Tech boys basketball coach, who hit 1,000 points in 2002 here at Tech. Congratulations. And Giovanni Jean, a junior on the boys basketball team, reached 1,000 points earlier this week. The classical boys basketball team clinched the Greater Boston League Championship this week as well. So congratulations to them. On that great news, we'll continue to work each day in service of students to make them feel valued and respected. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Getting to take this back.
Adjourned.